Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today, for all you space detectives out there, I've got a couple of new Gigapans, 3 or 4 actually, to show you. I'm not going to show you all of them straight away. I've got some new Perseverance rover images, including this one here. This is Sol 38, this is the latest one. Also this one, Sol 36, which I think I briefly showed in my previous video. There's 1 or 2 things in here. There's 1 or 2 things in here as well. And I've also got this one here. This is one I did a while back, about a month ago. This is Sol 4, Percy rover, Percy Sol 4 mast right. Now this is an important one because what this does is it helps you orientate where things are. Because what I've done on here, on the far right of the pan here, I've marked which direction this is looking. Okay, so this is west. This one here, the second one is north, and then you've got east and south. Okay, now you can use each section of this to navigate or work out which way you're looking. Okay, just by using those, and you can pick out certain hills and mountain features in the background and work out which way you're looking. So that's kind of a good way of orientating yourself with the actual terrain in Jezero Crater. Okay. So that's really cool, and you can actually pick out the various features, like we have these here. We got this kind of mound or hill here, and we got in Sol 36 we got the same mound. Okay, so you can actually work out which way you're looking using that previous Sol 4 Gigapan as a compass. Okay, that's why I did it. And basically, I've got a couple of things to show you now. There was this one. This is the most recent I did last night, and this is Sol 38. Now, this is quite nice, this one, and the raw image is very bright. What they're doing with the mast cam images on the new rover, the Percy rover, is they're adding a yellow filter. For some reason, now, the images we get from the Curiosity rover in Gale Crater, the mast cam images have an orange filter on them, which is kind of a quite deep orange colour, and that is mixed on top of the red, green and blue filters, okay, which makes everything go a sort of orangey brown colour. Now for some reason, on this camera, on this rover, the new rover, they're using a yellow filter. I've actually got it here. I've got a clip of it just here. What they tend to do, like on the website, they tend to put up the images in sets of thumbnails, and then they actually show the different filters, and this is the yellow filter. It's kind of a orangey yellow or yellowy orange. It's like a cadmium yellow or a sort of light cadmium orange. This is a different type of orange filter that they've been using on the previous mission, the Curiosity mission. The Curiosity rover one is darker than this. This is almost yellow. So this would explain why a lot of these images are much more yellow than the ones in Gale Crater. It's not just the different area and the different sand, but they're using a brighter, more yellowy filter on the images for some reason. I don't know why they're using this one instead of the other one or whatever. They do have lots of orange filters they can use on these cameras for different infrared data. Apparently that's what they use them for. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not sure at all why they would need to add this bright orange or yellowy filter on these images. There's no real logical reason other than the fact that they may be trying to obfuscate stuff like moss and green material growing on some of these rocks, which we know they do. I've shown many examples of things growing on rocks in Gale Crater, things like mushrooms and moss and stuff like that. And yellow or orange like this is very good when mixed with RGB at obfuscating green. It completely gets rid of it. That's one of the reasons I think they're using it. There may be other scientific reasons. You do get frost forming on the rocks, and when that frost melts in the morning, when it warms up, it is possible for things to grow. And I have shown things like plants and fungi and stuff like that. So that's the weird colour we're getting there. They're adding this to the RGB filters on top, and they blend them. Basically, those different images are then stacked together to make a colour image. Okay, and that's why we're getting these weird yellowy, peachy coloured images, which are not quite the same colour as the ones in Gale Crater. Okay, so that's that explained. Now, we've also got this image. They've finally got all the legs down on the actual copter drone here. I showed this in the last video, but it only had 2 legs down. Now they've actually got it ready to go. Here's the propellers at the top. And there are a lot of people have been saying that the atmosphere on Mars must be a lot more dense than they're saying it is. The atmospheric pressure for this to even fly, and that's quite correct. Now, and also, of course, they use a parachute to drop the rover into this crater, at least for a lot of the descent. They used the parachute, and then as they got nearer the ground, they fired rockets to actually slow themselves down enough to drop it onto the ground. So there is air pressure, and we're told it's extremely low. It's about 2% or something of Earth's air pressure. I'm not so sure, because most things on Mars work in thirds. They've got about a third of the gravities, 37%. The actual planet itself is just over a third of the size of Earth, about the same, about 37% the size of Earth. And I would imagine that their atmosphere is something like 30% or maybe less than that of Earth. Because if it was as low as they say it is, then this wouldn't fly, because there wouldn't be enough lift generated from the air. So there must be a higher density of air and a higher density of humidity in order for this to even fly. It's actually got 2 propellers on it, basically because one won't be enough, because obviously we're working at lower gravity. This thing weighs about 3 kilos, but the reason it's got 2 propellers on it is because it needs more lift to actually fly, because it's less air density. But how dense is the air really? Are we being lied to? I think we've been lied to about the atmospheric conditions on Mars since day one. And the plants and other things that I've shown before actually back that up. I can't prove it, but the evidence suggests to me that they've been lying to us about the actual conditions in the atmosphere, and perhaps even the level of oxygen on the ground as well, or near the ground. Because basically the different gases in the atmosphere don't all mix evenly throughout the atmosphere. What tends to happen, obviously, is the atmosphere is a lot thicker nearer the ground, and obviously, like on Earth, the further up you go, the thinner it gets. And certain gases are heavier than others. Things like methane is light, helium obviously is extremely light, and oxygen is more dense and would hug the ground more than some other gases would. Not only that, you have 95% carbon dioxide on Mars. Now, carbon dioxide is CO2. That means it's 2 parts oxygen to 1 part carbon, which means it's possible that the creatures and people that lived on Mars adapted to actually breathe carbon dioxide at that level, because there's so much oxygen mixed in with it. They may have had a different breathing system, or a different set of lungs, or even gills, or something like that, that may have helped them breathe this different air mixture. Who knows? They're taking their time with this. They're very methodically and slowly unfolding all the parts and testing it and running checks on everything before they actually launch it. But it would be interesting to see the photographs from this, because it'd be very difficult for them to take photos of the ground without showing some of the structures in the ground, depending on how high up they are. If they go up above 100 feet, which I doubt they will initially, then we will start to see some of the shapes in the ground, and that will probably confirm what I've been showing before, that there are structures buried here. Okay, so there was that. So basically, I've got a number of things here. There's also a couple of maps here which I managed to blag off some of the people at NASA from various social media accounts, showing the topography and depth of the crater. Now, currently the rover is approximately in this position here, where my little cursor is, just here. And we've got a depth of 2,600. I'm assuming this is meters. It doesn't say. They tend to work in meters, but they often work in feet as well. But basically, it's just over 2.5 kilometers below the what would be sea level on Mars. Okay, so this is deep down. And incidentally, some of the things I found before, if you go back to my channel, if you haven't seen these videos before, I do suggest that you watch these videos here. Canals on Mars Part 1 and Canals on Mars Part 2, and also this one, Mars Village by Square Building Complex, Jezero. Okay, because these are all things that I found outside or on the edge of Jezero Crater, okay, which is this area over here. Now that square complex is up here, and it looks down into Jezero Crater. We've got the river delta coming out here, right, which is a bit like the Nile Delta. It's very large. I'm not sure it's that large. And up here, just here, is a town. Now this is the town in that video which has huge branches coming out of the ground and vines growing over the ruins, okay? Just here. We got this little peninsula here where the river, large riverbed comes round, and we got just here, this is where the town, that is the location, right? I think it's actually just over here, just where my cursor is. We've got this crater here, you can see the crater, that round thing, and if you look at this, you can actually see that's the crater I just told you about, just there, and that's the branch thing coming out of the ground near it, and there's actually a town here, a ruined town with what they're like canals and streets and ruined buildings. This is the Square Building Complex. This looks down onto Jezero Crater, and this is a close-up. There's close-ups of the town in this one where the canals are, or what look like roads or canals, either. And this one is showing more of the what looks like massive vine plants or branches coming out of the ground. So there was stuff growing here. I'm not sure it's growing now. A lot of this stuff may be petrified wood and tree trunks and branches and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I have shown it before. I did a lot of work last year and a lot of homework for about 6 months leading up to this mission to make sure I was fully prepared. And I did a huge study of Jezero Crater and the surrounding areas, and I've uploaded to my Gigapans site a whole bunch. There's about 20 or 30 Gigapan images or satellite images of Jezero Crater and the surrounding terrain. So check it out. So if you come onto my videos, look in the description, and there will be a link to my main Gigapan page near the top of the description, okay? As well as the Gigapans I'm going to show you now, like this one and this one. Okay, so check those out, because a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense unless you've already seen some of my previous material and some of my previous research, okay? So there we are. So this is the one to look at, really. Sol 38. Now, a lot of this is just rock, obviously, fragments and broken, lots of debris and stuff like that. But some of these are quite weird, and this one is the one I was looking at, really. This strange triangular shaped one. It's got a rectangular part to it. Now, it doesn't look much, but why would a rock have a rectangular part on the side of it here, just here? Now, you can see it there in the raw image, which is very pale, and up here I've enhanced it, and you can see it a bit more clearly. If you look with a magnifier, you can actually see there's a perfect rectangle on the front of that, and there's some weird things on top of it as well, some weird shapes. So this may well be something artificial. Now, I've got it up in here in my graphics processing software here, and this is the raw image, and here it is, the triangular rock. What I generally do is, first thing I do is color correct it first, and sometimes use fade correction, but that goes very blue, and we know that it isn't that color, right? So a better way of doing it a lot of the time is to use something like automatic color balance, right? And that will let you pick the amount of fluorescent or sunlight that goes in the image. Right? Now, fluorescent bulb will go very orange, And the more you go to the right, the bluer it goes. We want somewhere in between sunlight and fluorescent, and that would give us an approximation of the actual colour. Okay, it still goes very blue, so maybe not. Maybe I'd go further this way. There we are, and you can see it pretty clearly. That's all you've really got to do. That's a little bit of contrast, not much. Now, one thing I've noticed, a lot of people, when they enhance these images, are going way too dark. Now, it occurred to me that what they might be having problems with is they might have their brightness on their screen, their computer screen, turned up too bright. Now, if you have your brightness turned up above 70, mine is on 70%, right? And I used to have it a little bit brighter, but I found that I was making everything too dark because basically my screen was too bright. And it meant that I was adding too much darkness and too much contrast to images. And when I was doing images, people were saying they couldn't see it was too dark, right? Now, I also know for a fact that most people on their mobile devices have the brightness turned down quite a long way to save battery, okay? Especially if they're out and about. So this is why my Gigapans and my images are brighter, is because I don't have my screen too bright. And I think a lot of people out there have their screens turned up too bright. So they end up darkening images to make them look right on their screen. And in fact, when other people view them, they look way too dark and you can't see anything, okay? So bear that in mind if you're doing enhanced images or anything like that, or Gigapans or anything. You need to make sure that your screen is not really much brighter than 70%. What I would normally do, if I was going to put this in a meme, is I'd take a clip of that and enlarge it to 1080 size, and then I'd take a clip of the raw image and put it on top of it in the corner and show the enhancement and the raw clip together in a meme, okay? So you can see that very clearly. There's a clear rectangle on this. Let's go darker again. Let's darken it right up so you can really see it. There we are, right there. I mean, what else could that possibly be other than a rectangle? It's a rectangle, and rocks, normal rocks, do not have rectangles on them. So this is not a normal rock. And if it's not a normal rock, what is it? It's something else. It's some kind of rock that has a carving on it. Or maybe it was attached to something. We've got some other weird details in it here, going up here. So there's something odd about this rock. So this is not an actual rock because rocks do not have rectangles carved into them. So this was part of something or had something attached to it. I don't know what it is. It's got this weird part coming down here which is probably joined. Don't know what that represents, that part. So who knows what it is. I don't know what this thing is, but one thing is for sure, normal rocks do not have rectangles on them or in them, okay, like this one does. So that is artificial. Now, if you are into making Mars memes, what I normally do, as most of you would have seen, is I always make sure that I either have the enhanced clip in the middle and the raw clip on the side, or the other way round. Either is fine. I always put the Sol number and the date that I found it, or the date, in this case, this was found by Bob Friedman. I put the date he found it or published it on one of the Mars groups on Facebook. So you need to put the Sol number, the mission, the Sol number. I always put a credit as well to NASA. You're supposed to do that legally. And then either my name or whoever found it, and then the date. ArtAlienTV watermark there just to stop people ripping it off. But this is a typical thing that you would find in Gale Crater, and similar things have been found already by me in Jezero Crater, as well as all the buildings and stuff on the edge of the crater and to the west of the crater. So there are things to be seen on the ground, as I've shown before, like this one here from a video I did a week or two ago. The hominid, this is actually an ape, or what I would call a proto-human. I've already shown this before, but I'll just outline that, because some people find it difficult to see these things. You've really got to get your eyes used to these sort of fairly sort of soft focus images, really, and they are a bit difficult for people to get used to. You can see quite clearly in this, once you let your eyes adjust to it, you've got a nose here, a mouth here, cheekbone, very flat face, and an eye there, and an eye there, okay? And then there's the forehead, and this is the forehead with the teeth marks in it. It looks like it's been bitten off. There, okay? There's the back of the head. Comes up to a point. So it's had the top of the skull removed, probably by some kind of creature or something. It may have been smashed off, but these look like teeth marks. You can actually see the marks in here. Some kind of creature with the large teeth bit that off, probably. Possibly, or probably. And this thing is very large. This is 2 or 3 times the size of a human skull. So this is really large. Okay? So there are things like skulls in these images, and there's another one in this one. Now this is Sol 36. I've got this up here as well. So you may want to check this out. I'll put a link to all this in the description below as usual. I've marked it on here. Now, it's a bit hard to say. It's shaped like a skull. And when you look at it with the magnifier, we have what look like eyes here, one here, and a nose and a mouth here. And it's shaped just like a skull. It may not be, but to me it looks like one. And you can actually see some nose detail there, if you look carefully, just here. Now, I haven't actually done a clip of this yet and enhanced it. I will do one in a minute for you and put it in the end of the video. So anything I'm showing you will be linked to, or there will be clips of at the end. So that was that. And then there's another new Gigapan I've got here. Now this is Gale Crater. This is the latest one that I've done of the Aries portrait, the giant Aries portrait, which is, this structure here is probably about 100 feet plus high. So this is very, very large. And this is the one I showed in previous videos. And this is the one that has what looks like a pipe coming out of it here, just here. So this is an even bigger close-up than the last one I showed you. So the people at NASA are listening, it seems, and they are giving me close-ups that I'm asking for, which is great. Either that, or I'm just getting very good at predicting what they're going to do next, who knows. But I do know they watch, and I do know they sort of listen to what I'm saying. They don't talk about it in public, but they're doing it. And I've got proof of that because I've had emails from people saying it. So there we are. So there's some amazing detail in here. And the eye detail in here is really cool, just here. And the nose coming down. Now I've colorized this. This isn't the actual color of the images. The images were black and white, and I've colorized it approximately to what the colors are of Gale Crater. Okay, which is this kind of browny golden color. So there we are. That's another close-up of the Aries, giant Aries statue or portrait. And the nose looks great in this one. The nostrils here, really amazing. And the detail in here is really good. And I've been careful not to over sharpen it or make it too dark so that you can see into the shadows, because I want to see the eye socket. So you've got the eye socket here and another one here, the nose, and then nice mouth detail here. It's just a shame that this is all kind of broken. In reality, this would have been a bit more plump, and the cheekbone would have come around here. And a lot of this is buried, of course. We've got these weird structures here, this thing coming out, which I showed before, the pipe. So it's another view of that pipe thing coming down into the ground. And there's sand piled up against this, so there's something buried here. There's a weird dome-shaped thing here, and a structure in there. So there's something going on here, as well as the actual portrait itself. This thing protruding from his nose is quite intriguing, and we may get some more angles on this in coming days, hopefully, and perhaps some even closer images of it, okay? So that'd be cool. So the main ones to check out are Sol 38, there'll be a link to that below. That's the one with the rectangular part. Very strange. There's this thing here, obviously, which looks a bit like a skull. Sol 36. We got this, which is Sol 3072. This is obviously MSL, that's Mars Science Laboratory, which is Curiosity rover. So you can check that out. And here I've got, also, of course, I've got Sol 4 from Percy rover. This is the one you need to navigate with. This is absolutely jammed with interesting things, not only with buildings and what look like structures in the background, but things on the ground, which look really interesting. My favourite find in this one was this up here, and the second one down, this structure in the background. You can see on this hillside. This is looking northwest, okay? And you can actually see a structure here in the ground, rectangular, that's just there. Now that's over a mile away, so you can't see it very well, but if you darken it, if you take a clip like I showed you, and just bring a lot more contrast into the image, it will show up, as I've shown before, okay? Just before we go, I'm just going to show you a quick animation. So these clouds have been shown above Gale Crater now for about 2 or 3 weeks, okay? And they haven't gone away, and they're still there. These are cirrus clouds, they're very high atmosphere, probably above 15 or 18,000 feet, okay? And what I've got them in a folder here. The rover is situated near Mont Mercou, looking up above the mountain. And what you can do, if you download the whole set of images, you can flick through them and animate them like this. Okay? Now I'll put these in at the end of the video and animate them properly, okay? But if you flick through them, you can see the clouds moving. So that was one set. There's another set here. These are really cool. Now, these were probably taken, I don't know how far apart the images were taken, but basically the cameras on the rover can take moving footage, but only at 10 frames per second. So that's probably what we're looking at here, 5 or 10. There's 6 actually. These were probably all taken in a couple of seconds, I would imagine. So you can actually animate them. So set 2. Very brightly lit up, some of this stuff. So I think the sun's at quite a low angle here because we've got deep shadow at the bottom. This is some of the lower butte light structures at the bottom of Mount Sharp. So I think this is evening shots, okay? Judging by the shadows. And there's set 3 here, which is really nice. There's 6 in there as well. And these apparently are gravitational waves showing up in the cirrus cloud. These wave forms, okay? That's according to NASA. Okay, those are pretty cool. Let's go the other way actually. It's better going that way. So I'll put all these in at the end and any other clips I've got. If I find anything else, I'll put clips of those in as well. Like I said, do go back and watch my previous videos on Jezero Crater. So thanks for watching everybody. I will see you soon.